Welcome back to Pitt State HHPR's In Practice. We are back. It's good to be back. We've been in the lab. We've been working on a few things for you all this semester. Starting here with episode 5, you'll get to meet one of our fabulous faculty members each week on a deeper level than you'll get anywhere else. Up first, from the plains of western Kansas, the head of the department chair, Dr. John Oppliger. His stories are fantastic, and in this hour you'll learn a lot about life, leadership, and the unconventional journey that many of us take. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you next week. Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we have the privilege of sitting down with Dr. John Oppliger. Welcome. Thanks for taking a bit out of your Wednesday to come and chat with us.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
So this is part of a series of videos that we're trying to get to know all the different faculty in our program, and I think you are obviously one of the most important pieces here, serving as the chair and having as much experience as you have at Pitt State. So I think it's going to be really cool for everyone out there to get to know you a little bit more. I always enjoy our conversations. I'm sure that others out there would like to get a peek inside the mind of Dr. Opp. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
Well, basically, I've always been pretty much a Kansas boy. My dad grew up a farm boy out in western Kansas, west central Kansas, and he figured out there wasn't going to be enough farming for him, so he went away to college, and he was a school teacher, mostly a school administrator, superintendent most of my growing years.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from out in western Kansas, out near a little town called Kendall. Not much there anymore, but it's out by Syracuse and Lake, and about 50 miles west of Garden City, pretty close to the Colorado border.
Okay. So I imagine Pittsburgh is in smaller towns like that kind of feels similar to home for you. Walk us through, after you left home, what was your first stop in your academic career?
Well, I actually went to community college, and I really enjoyed that. I'm pretty much a supporter of community colleges. A lot of people, they really aren't, but I really was. It worked great for me. Garden City Community College, and then I ended up going to Fort Hays State University.
Mm-hmm.
Taught school, but eventually got a master's here at Pittsburgh State, and that was quite a while back. But taught school and coached and did the best I could, and just life changes and different interests, and I'd been influenced by some folks in higher ed before, and I eventually thought that, I might race off and get a doctorate. Well, you don't race off and get that. But, I ended up getting that at the University of Mexico, so I was down there for a while, and I had a few job offers, but about that time when I was getting ready to leave, Fort Hays had another opening, and so I thought, well, gee whiz, I had a degree from there. I enjoyed it there, so I went to Fort Hays for 3 years, and I had like I said, a degree from Pittsburgh State, and an opening here at Pitt State, and the dean of the college at that time had been the chair of this department at one time, and
Mm-hmm.
he kept saying, we're going to get you back here someday, and I was perfectly happy there, but something told me I ought to come out to Pitt State, so I came back here, and I've been here since the fall of 1994, and loved every bit of it.
So walk us through, you mentioned you went to Fort Hays, Pitt State, and then University of New Mexico. What were your degrees at those 3 stops?
Well, I was at Fort Hays, I was PE, but I was also qualified to teach, if you can believe this, language arts, English and language arts.
You're an English minor, correct?
I always enjoyed writing, and I guess when I was a youngster and reading the different, Mark Twain and Hemingway and everybody else, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to do something in creative writing. Well, there's not a lot of degrees in creative writing, and if you want to be a coach also, but I was a PE guy, and so I did that, so I got a degree in that, and of course, Fort Hays would have been, Pittsburgh State was a master's in this department.
Yes, sir.
And University of Mexico was actually, I was interested in adapted special physical education, working with folks with disabilities in physical activity settings, just health settings and wellness in general. So that was kind of my main concentration, I'd been a methods person enough. I didn't need to really study that.
Right.
And actually, you can believe that my minor was that and a little bit of special ed and what they call inquiry skills.
Okay. So, what triggered, first of all, your love for physical education in general? What made that the initial path?
Oh, growing up, I was actually a pretty good student all through K through 12 school. You know, I could have always done better like a lot of us. I was a typical boy growing up and did what I needed to do to do it. And sometimes somebody sparked my interest and I'd do a lot better. Always liked physical activity. I was probably about fourth grade on. I watched sports on TV, didn't know what was going on, but I thought that sure looked cool. So I always liked to be involved in athletics and sports and physical education. Just always liked it. They had pretty good physical education teachers and really good ones. It was kind of ahead of the times. It wasn't just roll out the ball and the teacher sit and watch, you know. So I kind of liked that. I got interested in, I guess I didn't know it at the time, say in high school, just movement, proper forms when you're doing things, you know, performing skills. And I'm not a biomechanist to this day, but something got me interested in that and just the health aspects of being active. So that's the route I knew I wanted to coach. So that's the route I took.
What sports did you want to coach?
Well, I've coached, I have coached the junior high level. I've coached football and basketball, and track and field. And the high school level, I've helped with football and basketball, and I think that was it at high school level.
Yeah.
I can't tell you which one I enjoyed the most when I was out there. You know, I always liked baseball, but didn't get to coach baseball.
Yeah.
So.
So then, throughout your academic career, you mentioned you switched sort of into what was your PhD in New Mexico in the kind of adaptive kind of therapeutic rec. What triggered that? Was that a shift in interest, or was it just something you always wanted to explore but never really got the opportunity to?
I think probably as undergrad, I had to take that traditional one class in adaptive physical education that you had to have for teaching licensure. I liked the guy that taught that. The guy that taught that actually was a doctorate, and he was also a gymnastics coach, if you believe that, at a university. And I enjoyed that. And then as time went on, again, I think it's just the idea of enjoying movement and form and the proper steps in throwing, the proper steps in kicking and catching and walking and running and hopping and skipping and all that. I enjoyed teaching when I taught school, and then sometimes you'd run into a child with a physical disability, and I always had quite a bit of patience. I think maybe one time when I coached, I think I got a few penalties and technicals and stuff like that, but for the most part, I've always been pretty patient. And when I thought I wanted to work on a doctorate, I'd already had, in between that time, after a master's in teaching, and I'd take classes here and there, and I thought I wanted to be a principal. So I was one or two classes short from being a principal, passed my master's. Then I realized I don't want to do this. I want to go get a doctorate, and I want to be at a university. And I guess even, to be honest, even adding to that, at that time, adapted people with PhDs with a background in physical activity, folks with disabilities, that was pretty hot then too.
Yeah.
That's not the only reason I did it. But
right.
I think when I got my doctorate, there were 5 adapted jobs across the United States open that year, higher ed.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
And so the job I took out of Fort Hays was adapted, but I was also a methods person.
So then you mentioned you went back to Fort Hays for a few years. What was your role at Fort Hays? Assistant professor, fresh out?
Yeah, assistant professor. I was actually their coordinator, director, whatever they wanted to call it at that time.
Right.
The adapted special physical education program. Kansas, at one time, Kansas was one of 14 states nationwide that had a special endorsement on your teaching certificate or license, whatever you called it in that state. Kansas was one of them. They were one of the early states, and so we would produce quite a few kids out there that were gonna teach physical education, but they also wanted to be qualified to teach adaptive PE.
Gotcha.
And, because most school districts, well, you had to have access to somebody with that sort of qualification. A lot of folks belong to special education cooperatives,
Mm-hmm.
and they might have a person there who had an itinerant role and travel and stuff like that. So I did that, but I also taught, like, elementary PE methods class and
Right.
motor development and always used that a graduate class of some sort. So just a full-time young assistant professor.
So when they brought you back to Pitt State, was it in a role similar to that?
It was, but also at that time, another university had adapted in Kansas, but they dropped it. So we were the only university that was at Fort Hays that was producing people that wanted to be qualified to teach adaptive PE or be specialists. So that was one of the reasons they brought me here. So I spent quite a bit of time putting together a bunch of documents and filling out things. And we created the 4 classes you needed and got it approved to the State Department. And then I'm ready to teach it the next fall, but we didn't have enough people to cover the other things I was teaching. So we didn't get it started yet, but there it was. And these are 4 online, see, so we could do a few things by arrangement if we had to, somebody.
Right.
And about the 2nd or 3rd year after that, we still didn't teach them. And then Kansas went to a licensure procedure instead of an old-fashioned certificate, and they eliminated a whole lot of endorsements. Educators out there would understand used to have these endorsements on your certificate. I can teach this, I can teach that. My major might have been biology, but I also had enough hours in, was qualified to teach, 2 or 3 other subject areas. So about that time, they decided to drop adaptive PE as an endorsement in Kansas. And so there wasn't any real need for it anymore, as a specialty area.
Right.
So did all that work for nothing.
So how long were you at Pitt State until, you reached your department chair now? So walk us through your progression here at Pitt State.
Okay, I started here in fall of 2004. No, not 2000, it'd be 1994, yeah. And enjoyed it very much, promoted a couple times, full professor. And the chair at the time decided he'd been a chair for 10 years and he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted to continue to teach. He was a very quality instructor. So I thought, well, I wouldn't mind being I always thought someday, I had so many hours of school administration, it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought someday I probably might try to do something else, move into some kind of administrative role. I didn't want to get totally out of the teaching.
Yeah.
I had a couple feelers. People had sent me some late night emails or messages wanting to know why I had to apply for some jobs, in different places and around the country. And I just, So anyway, I thought, well, I'll apply for this job. And of course, if you follow administration, they often say that you'll never be an effective administrator if you become one, out of the department you grew up in. Well, you probably shouldn't do that, but I didn't worry about that.
Yeah.
And so I became the chair. It's been, I think, June of 2004. And as of this moment, they haven't told me any different.
That's right.
I'm still the department chair.
Yeah. And I want to dive into your experience as a chair here in a little bit, but before we get there, tell us about some of the classes you teach. You're still an active professor. You still teach classes.
Yeah. Most of what I teach, I rarely have one. If I'm in an emergency, I'll take a class in the classroom, traditional.
Yeah.
Which I miss, but I'll do one of those occasionally. Usually, if somebody's on sabbatical or maybe somebody retires or resigns or takes another job and we didn't have time to do a search, I'll do it in something I can cover. I won't put myself in something I can't.
Right.
But most everything else would be online, and I'm like a lot of other people. I'm still learning how to teach online and be effective, feel like I'm effective. That's something that's always bothered me. Am I teaching the right things? When I first got in higher ed, things I thought I knew about everything in the world about certain classes. I might have known a lot, but I'm wondering, what did the students really need to know?
Yeah.
And so I did that. So right now I will teach online classes, and I'll cover a lot of the topics and things like that. And, just special emergencies where a kid really needs a topics. We'll give them something that they will some learning will occur, but something to keep them up to 12 hours or whatever they need for their scholarship or financial assistance. So we've always been a department that goes out of our way to help students.
And within those online classes, higher education, most industries at this point have gone through a pretty big series of changes in the last 2 years with COVID, right? What did that look like from your perspective, just within the teaching sphere? We'll get to the department chair stuff here in a second, but just within the teaching sphere, what kind of changed here at Pitt State?
Not for me as a teacher necessarily,
right?
Since at that time everything I think was online for me at that time.
Yeah.
But as our faculty as a whole, it's really kind of funny. I went into that obviously kind of spooked like everybody else. Man, this is serious. We've known people that lost their lives due to this COVID. But I was very confident in our faculty being able to adapt, modify, adjust. And maybe that's from my days as a public school teacher and coach, where for some reason they're going to take your gym away for an assembly and you got to go somewhere else, or you can't be outside because it's pouring rain or whatever. You just think on your feet and you just go with it. So I knew that faculty, the word wouldn't be complain. They would complain more about what am I going to do, what kind of adjustments. But I knew our folks would get through it, and boy, they did too. I mean, it worked faculty far more than it did me.
Yeah.
They made their adjustments, and they probably got tired of me telling them that, hey, you know what? You have a job, you're drawing a paycheck, you're pretty good about figuring things out. Just do it. and they did. And since that time, and we're back to, we'll call this normal, it's amazing how many people, some of those adaptations, modifications, they're continuing with them because they
stuck with us. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I can understand everybody panicking and stuff, but I really worried more about maybe somebody catching COVID, and losing their lives. But I didn't really worry about how we're going to take care of our students. And students, again, I've been in it long enough. Students didn't complain,
Yeah.
Usually it's those of us that got to make changes, and they had to learn how to do things different too. But I really didn't get complaints from students.
Yeah.
They just, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. It seems like students have been really, really flexible through this whole thing. It's
very flexible.
Made our jobs a whole lot easier, even when at times we feel like we probably weren't doing our jobs as well as we should have been. I'm sure that's a feeling that everyone out there can relate to as well. So with the classes that you teach, you mentioned they're all online. There's a lot of difficulties with teaching online classes. I mean, even as someone who, I had to learn how to teach them all online while I was finishing my PhD, figuring out that world, and still it's always a learning process. But what do you hope students get out of your classes? If you could pick one thing across all of them, what would be one thing you hope students get out of your classes?
Well, I guess you think about something like that, I'm going to probably go back to even in the early days when I taught full-time in the classroom. You always want the information that you give to be current and relevant. And with the online, especially a lot of the grad students, our grad program, we're the only one in Kansas that also it encompasses those in the rec and leisure fields. We have an undergrad program that's nationally accredited, so we not only get physical educators and teachers and people that are interested in biomechanics and physiology with our different tracks we have, but also from the rec and leisure field. So there's so many people that are in just different job settings, or they're going to be in different job settings, So I try to figure out from each one of them, I'm bright enough to kind of understand what their career is, if it's not my specialty.
Right.
So I can usually kind of relate something from the material to how it may affect them right now, because most of them are employed, or at least down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know really how to answer that, but I think it's to make sure I'm current with what's going on with the material, and is it relevant to what they're doing right now? Will they be able to apply it now, or even at a later date?
Yeah,
It's one thing students don't realize when they, like with I used to take care of our student teachers years ago when I was taught methods classes, and they take these classes just like when I was student taught when I was the education side. I'd go out, and it took me about 3 weeks, and I had the student, and I'd I felt like I didn't need cooperating teachers or anything, you know. And I'd come back and tell the university supervisors, you know, you guys didn't teach me anything, you know. And what they did, it shows up later on in your career.
Exactly.
So I'd lecture to our students before they go out to all their sites for the professional semester, and I'd just say, some of you are gonna feel like, we didn't teach you a thing here after a few weeks, but trust me, things will come back later.
Isn't it funny how many emails you get and things like that about students that are like, oh, all this makes sense all of a sudden? It's like
70,
yeah.
not always, but I can go through periods where I get 70, 80 emails every day, and actually probably, I don't know, probably 50, 55, I really do need to answer, you know. So.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny how it all seems to come full circle for our students, and it's not until a year or two, maybe more after. So, good. So, moving back to your role as department chair, first of all, walk us through kind of the processes that happened in order for you to get there. You talked about the timeline, but like, how does one, if there's any other young faculty out there wondering about, you know, okay, what is ascending the ranks in higher education look like? Can you walk us through those steps?
Well, I guess, well, I don't want to offend anybody in any way, but if you think about it, it's not like it is, say, in, you know, again, from the education side, where you've got to have a certain license to go from, you know, if you want to be you can be an educator, you have to have a degree in whatever it is and a license in that state. If you would like to be a building principal in that state, well, you have to have, you know, certain license, superintendent. So there are, and even in some other areas out there, you know, you have to kind of go through. Higher ed is basically, I guess, we just kind of we put the trust in the people who doing the hiring. So you might have been you know, faculty member for a few years and have an interest in moving up if a position opens and somehow on campus and you apply. But I do think that the big thing we rely on higher ed is those that are above you that are reviewing and seeing who's applying. We really count heavily that they're going to hire the right person.
Yeah.
But as far as special training for me to do what I do, no. I mean, I think you need to be different folks would give you a difference. Tell you what they'd have in their arsenal, but I do think you need to be a people person. You need to like people. In this profession, you need to like students. Too many times, you often wondered, you know, why did this guy even become a college professor? I don't know, he even likes students. You know?
Yeah.
You need to like students, and you know, the idea of wanting to lead and climb the ladder. I was never like that. I mean,
Yeah.
Different opportunities open up. You know, I'll look at them and I'll take them. But to me, I've always been pretty content at wherever I was at. But yeah, basically just know what you're doing and be current. That's always the strength of this department is our faculty, you know, they publish, some of them publish, but they're seen professionally. They attend conferences, give presentations. So our people get seen like that. And if you go to those things, you're bound to catch up on what your competitors are doing, what other universities doing, and departments similar. And so I've always bragged that our folks are, I think, very current. I know some of our faculty have been here almost as long as me. I don't know, maybe longer, but they sometimes put a hardship on themselves because they realize that now I've been teaching this class, you know, and they make their changes, but there'll be one semester they'll say, yeah, I'm gonna change a lot of things in here because this is what's happening now in the profession. So yeah, so if they're willing to go out there and make themselves have a little bit rougher semester because they're changing things in that class and they're doing it as a result of, you know, what are the best practices right now and that.
Yeah.
And you know, you got to admire that, and that's really what it amounts to is just let the people know above you know that you don't want to be a troublemaker. You don't want to make waves. There's a way you can stand up for, you know, what you believe in and what's right. But usually in higher ed, thank goodness, somebody that just wants to complain for the sake of complaining, they usually don't go anyplace.
Yeah, don't last. Yeah. We talk a lot in many of our classes in the program about different leadership styles, different management styles, different strategies for leading groups of people, and you've alluded to this already, but we have a broad range of programs within HHPR, right? You talk about exercise science, they're data focused. We have therapeutic rec, we have rec sport, hospitality management, and of course we have PE. And then we also have graduate students. And you have faculty that have specialties in each of those areas. So you have a broad range of personalities within the department. What's your strategy for managing all of the different personalities, the different groups within the department?
Oh, that's a good one. Maybe you should give me that question. I could have. No. Well, again, I think if you need to, you want people to, just like with my students over the years, and I always told everybody else that, if students think that you're fair and that you care, they'll usually come around to you, right? Kind of same thing with faculty. I always hope that they know that I care, and I hope they think I'm fair. I think a lot of them think I care, and if there are conflicts, some might think you're not fair, because anybody's going to, it's natural for somebody to favor their discipline, the degree program they're primarily involved in more than somebody else. It's just natural.
Right.
If I was over in the English department at Pitt State, I'd favor English over physical education or biology or whatever, that's just natural. But when you're all in the same facility, the same department, I think you have to realize that, different people, if you take your time from the area you're in, and you look at the area, folks that are not in your area, if you take your time, you'll see that, man, that lady really cares about what she's doing. And everybody does have a strength. We all have strengths, and if you really want to, you can identify those strengths, okay? So yeah, as far as conflict, there are some departments in universities that, there's just lots of conflict and lots of things going on. I don't really think that we do, I'm the type that, good grief, you're asking about the styles. I mean, I can't even remember all the names, all the classes I've had. There's the dictator, authoritarian, laissez-faire, the father type, it just goes on forever.
Yeah.
Every few years, somebody changes the names of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the issues with those models, but.
Yeah, but no, I want them to come to me, and I'm very good about not, if somebody come to me and really say that, man, John, you don't think that's the right thing to do, I think you're going to pay for it later on. It does not offend me. I promise it does not offend me at all. I want to hear those kind of things. I'm really pretty diplomatic. I think that over the years I've got like that, so I'm not going to, lose my temper and everything else because somebody's pointing out that this is the right way to go. That helps me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I want everybody, as far as the office, come see me anytime you want. I have to make appointments, I don't like doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I trust people. I think another thing is, a long time ago, I heard somebody, it was a class I had when I was young, that the guy had been a superintendent. He just always figured he's going to hire the best people and tell them we did. And that's really what I do. I always tell folks, I think I told you we hired you. This is a rural, medium-sized university. Some people say out in the middle of nowhere, but we are close to some enjoyable areas.
Yeah.
But we hope you stay here forever. I'm going to try to do things to help nurture you, get you on the right committees, do these right things, encourage you to do this stuff so you can build up that really nice vita, and then you may leave us. So we hope you don't leave us, but it is my job to make such a darn good vita that everybody's gonna want you.
Yeah.
So you have to take that attitude, and that's what I do. Another thing, we always hire, this goes along with all this and the interaction, I do get involved in hiring. I'll have search committees and a chair, but we won't hire anybody unless they have some sort of experience in that field.
Yeah.
We're not like some major universities will have. I've had several people. We've had probably just the last 15 years. I wouldn't know how many people got degrees with us when I got doctorates.
Mm-hmm.
We're very proud of that. Okay. But I've had several come see me, and actually one or two in this department, that worked on, got doctorates, and they want to go away and do something. And I had one that was going to go away, and he was going to be a methods person in physical education, show you how to teach PE, train teachers. And I asked him, why would you want to do that? You've been a physical educator for 11 years. There are some other areas that you're good at. You're going to go down to university and work on a doctorate, and you may well at that giant D1 university, the people that are showing you how to go out and teach PE, maybe somebody that racing got a bachelor's, racing got a master's, or racing got a doctorate. They never been out there doing the things you've done. So I had him get a couple other areas because I didn't, he came back here too eventually, but
just to build that
he was already a
experience
methods person. He knew enough about methods. He didn't. So he can do other things for us too because he has some other strengths. Now he's got additional, training, we'll say, in there, and made some other qualifications. So
making sure that they're well rounded before. So we've talked about some of the things that you look for in faculty, but and the differences between all of our different program areas. What are some of the specifics that you look for? Because it seems like, but just my observations, it seems like you've been very intentional about the faculty that you have hired, this group that you have assembled. It seems like we all work together really, really, really well. What do you think those characteristics are that allow us to all be successful and coexist, like you said, without conflict, with a lot of positive interaction, open door policy? What do you think what are you looking for? What are those common elements that?
Well, I might go back to what I just said and relate that to the fact that when we hired you, for instance, we knew all these other things you had done besides just take classes. Okay, so we knew these different things in the various aspects of the rec field. You have a wide array of skills, and you've done these things. And I think if you look around, all of your colleagues, they're pretty much the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just folks that have done a whole lot of things like in the private world.
Right.
And I think that makes people kind of understand that, look around, boy, she has done other things, or he has done other things. I don't view our department, again, these are the things that people, the layperson says about higher ed. They always say if you're in higher ed, because boy, you sure couldn't do anything else. But that's not the case with this department. We've had folks that have worked in the private sports industry, have been, teachers, college coaches, high school coaches, cardiologists. I'm just trying to think of all these different people, So I think when you look around and you see somebody that's actually done some other things too, and you're here, it kind of makes you feel like, ooh, so, well, she might be kind of intimidating too. Maybe he's kind of intimidating too. And we're all pretty powerful,
Takes the
we all
ego
feel
out of
good
it,
about
right?
it,
It takes the ego out of it, and it puts the student first. That's something that we talk about in all of our podcast episodes. It's like the reason the podcast exists, and the reason that we teach the classes that we teach, and everything else that we do here within the department. It's all centered around the students. It's all centered around their experience and what they're going to get out of it. And like you alluded to a second ago, with the things that you hope they get out of your classes, it's practical, it's realistic, it's relatable to their career now or their career in the future. And I think those are all common themes throughout the department and all of our program areas.
Yeah, just, I always tell the faculty that, they just realize, look at you could look at various university publications. We put out a heck of a department newsletter, a very fine newsletter for a department, about as well as any I've seen any place. Area TV stations, newspapers, just look throughout the year and just see how many faculty, students from this department get some kind of recognition. So we really look pretty good. We stand out there. We don't got to embarrass ourselves because most things have always been pretty darn positive. And so, we kind of joke. I think you've probably done something. I've sent you an email to tell you, wow, Dr. Hutchins, you're going to make us all famous, but we like to be seen, and there's nothing wrong with that, and we are. So, you can look around again, and look and see the people that are doing that, and it makes you feel good that you're around those kind of people.
Yeah.
I don't think folks get jealous when they see somebody else getting in all these publications. It's just, boy, she's in my department.
Part of the
He's in my
team,
department.
right?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of us are probably here, a lot of us, because we're failed athletes. Athletics took us as far as they were. You've heard that one before.
Oh, yeah.
But, we do like that idea of teamwork and being able to stand out and people know that we can work together. So.
You mentioned the reason that a lot of people will say, okay, well, that's why you picked higher ed, because you couldn't do anything else, right? But again, we've talked about how we have so many people who are so talented across so many different areas of emphasis. But why did you pick higher ed?
Well, I think again, I've done quite a few things. I mean, there's one time I was coaching 6 sports.
Yeah.
And teaching physical education all day. And I know when basketball season rolled around, they'd give me the junior high girls as well as my junior high boys. I had high school girls at one time at a certain school I was at. I can remember, gee whiz, from about, that was a small school where in the afternoon PE classes in those days, we could start sports practice, which that's not the thing to do, but they could. So probably about 12:30 until maybe 6:30 at night, I was coaching basketball.
Yeah.
Coaching.
It's a long day.
Practice.
Yeah. It's a long day.
Very long day. So I've done all these different things, and again, I always enjoyed some of my professors in college, and they did influence me positively. They didn't run out and say, "Boy, John, someday you need to race off and get a doctorate." It wasn't that, but and then I just eventually just kind of thought, I'd like to kind of do like Dr. So-and-so did. I remember her. A lot of our folks remember Sandy Bachmeyer. She was the most wonderful, the brightest human beings you would ever run into. She was taught here when I got a master's here. I often said her board development class might have been the best class I ever took in my life,
Yeah.
So, I liked that, and I thought,
Those influential professors along the
and
way.
I felt good about it because, again, I had done some things.
Right.
I felt, okay, I've done some things, now I can pursue a terminal degree. I've done some things. So,
Yeah.
And again, I mean, we're not bragging, because you too, but I remember working on my doctorate, and I just remember a lot of different people in a few classes. I just didn't feel like, you get to know them, and I didn't feel like they'd done a lot of things in their life before they went to, because there's no way I would want to pursue a doctorate. I was probably 33, I don't know when I started back, 32, I don't know how old I was, 33. There's no way I would have started a doctorate, at a younger age.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't have done it, so.
Shift gears to the leadership side of things again. Our departmental values, right? Academic excellence, student success, our partnerships, and our innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about those values and how you see the department fulfilling those and embodying those?
Well, I'm going to memorize these here.
Yeah.
See which way you said that.
Yeah. Academic success.
Oh, success. Well,
Or excellence, yes. Sorry.
contrary to what anybody might think, if you come to Pittsburgh State University, you are supposed to be an educator first. Now, I still like the word to use teacher. I have no problem with that because I was a teacher. Teaching is what we do first. It's what we do best. We love scholarship, okay? Don't ever think that we don't, but you are a teacher here, and we want you to enjoy teaching. So I think that's just, I think department chairs, deans, they need to stress this, and I think that they do. We have a provost that sure stresses it, which is wonderful. But you're here to teach. You can do these wonderful things beyond that, but you don't shirk the teaching to do something else. So if you just have that belief in the department, that I won't say it takes care of everything in that area, but it sure does help. So, and again, I'm any kind of resources, anything people need. I'm here for the students first, but really a close second. I need to know what Dr. Hutchinson needs in materials to teach this class better, or Dr. Jewett, or Dr. Boffey, or whoever it might be. It's my job to figure out ways to make them enjoy their job more. I remember the second point there here.
Student success.
Yeah. Again, student oriented. You know, we've got some folks in our department, and I don't, want to brag and say somebody's more student oriented than somebody else, but I think we know that, I hope we're all student oriented, but I think among the faculty, you can even recognize, boy, who is that individual, or a couple of individuals that, they'll just, boy, they'll come back at night to work, I mean, they'll just go out of the way.
Yeah.
And I think some recognize who those individuals are. And I think our students as a whole think that we're student oriented. I know that we have had, a lot of students over the years we've had quite a few. We follow, you follow sports. Here's Pittsburgh State. We love Pittsburgh State. People in this area love KU or K-State or OU or wherever. But, well, I wish I could have gone to KU or whatever. All I could ever say is we don't get too many students to leave our department to go to one of those big major universities, but we've got many up over the years transfer into our department.
Yep.
And the number one reason was I couldn't find my advisor, or I didn't have an advisor, had an advisor that did not have any office hours whatsoever, things like that.
Yep.
And they just kind of get comfortable and sit in here, and they do well. So, yeah, if the faculty can make students successful, you really can. We'll see students that are really maybe not the best GPA coming out of high school, for instance, coming in, but you'll be startled how many of them faculty take the time and show they care, and you can kind of motivate and inspire students. We think about that. We want our elementary ed teachers to go out there, and even our high school teachers, we want them to be able to inspire and motivate kids. Oftentimes in our society, we think that, nope, shouldn't be like that in higher ed. You're paying to go to school, and whatever I say, you need to just pay attention. If you can't cut it, you can't cut it. Well, no, sorry, I'll get out of it before I ever start believing that. Partnerships. Well, we, depends on what field we're looking at. Obviously, with education, we're in all the schools all over the place, They often say that, universities will often say that, I'm very pro-athletic, trust me, but they'll often say that athletics are really the pillar, the front porch to a university,
Yep.
And that's probably true. But I often say, well, that's true too, but I don't know, maybe a close second or maybe even first is actually a college of education that with teacher ed, because there's nobody in the schools more than the university supervisors. We have an academic supervisor here. We have student teachers all over. Before that, you have teachers out doing clinicals and doing practicums. So all of this region, there are Pitt State personnel from over in teacher education. And so they see us running through there all the time. So, that's a partnership, and we do it, and we really ask, what do you guys want? What are our students not knowing? What should they know, And then partnerships, like you might think about, our recreation services, sport, and hospitality management, We try to do things with the city. And the city needs something. We try to do things with, Crawford County as a county, the convention, travel bureau, things like that. Got a nearby casino, we made inroads with them as well.
Yep.
We try to be seen in the community, in the region, and I don't know if you have yet, eventually there's gonna be folks gonna call on you, want you to help consult, and I want you to show them how to do this. I know that one of our gentlemen just retired recently. He'd be called up on different cities to come in and help them design green. He's a rec person on the facility side. How to design these green areas and little parks throughout towns and stuff like that. So we've had folks do those, and so we're out there. We're out there in the nursing homes, the assisted living centers with therapeutic recreation. So partnerships, innovation. Well, I guess you think about innovation. I mean, we do have some folks that conduct research. Actually, all of of our faculty have done research at one time or another.
Mhm.
Some, depending upon their discipline, it's just something they continue to do, human subject research, for instance. But we are innovative that you just can't say enough if you have a faculty, and one thing our faculty here can say that Oppliger supported them when they wanted to go places.
Yep.
The funding they get from the university, and if we have any we can come up with, if they're gonna go present someplace, and they're gonna be at a conference and be seen, and they're gonna go to sessions too, and they're gonna pick up stuff, and they're gonna know how to come back and make things better. So that's, but really, how do you innovate? I mean, you gotta know what's going on out there now, who's doing better than we are.
And providing those opportunities for your faculty to go and
Yeah.
figure all that out. Yeah, absolutely.
Who's doing better than we are? How can we catch them and surpass them, you know?
Yep.
So I think there's nothing wrong with people wanting to be competitive.
That's right. Okay, so all this aside, outside of the SRC, what does Dr. Opp do for fun? What does Dr. Opp outside of work look like? I don't know that there's been a weekend I haven't seen you up here, but
I just don't have a lot of, I golf. About every 6 years I'll go golfing. My wife and I like to fish.
Yeah.
She's from a family of 6 brothers. They grew up fishing, so she fishes, she outfishes me. So we enjoy doing that. Dr. Hutchins likes to fish. I think she's already picked your brain several times.
Oh, yeah.
Where you go, and he hadn't been here that long.
Oh, yeah.
She wants to know if he knows any honey holes. But we enjoy doing that. I mean, I enjoy travel, but most of my travel ends up being related to professionally.
Yeah.
I don't mind going someplace I haven't been before and seeing things, and then in the evenings maybe drive around and look at some other stuff.
Yeah.
I like to read. I really like to read. As the older I get, I still read professionally, but I'll admit not as much now. I'll go back. Kids bought me a Kendall one time, and I thought, well, what is this thing? And then I found out I can get these books like, dirt cheap. And
Yeah.
I thought, well, gee whiz, I'm gonna start reading these. So I'll go back and read the things that I enjoy reading. I do not look forward to Fridays, and I don't dread Mondays.
Yeah.
And
It's a powerful thing.
yeah.
There's a lot of people who can't say that.
And I guess my wife didn't like my attitude. I've always said that if you don't have anything to do, well, you might as well be at the office not doing it,
Yeah.
And so I like doing that, and I'm married to probably the happiest person I've ever known. So yeah, I do okay. I'll try to stay away from the office.
Yeah, if y'all see Dr. Opp up here on a Saturday or a Sunday, tell him to go home. He's been up here just about every weekend this semester. It's been crazy. Okay, so one of the last questions I have for you, and I think you've made the case pretty cleanly thus far. But to wrap it all up, there's students out there thinking about one of our programs, thinking about Pittsburgh State in general.
Mm-hmm.
Why should they pick Pitt State?
Well, I like when a prospective student comes in. I really like when their parents come in too. And I try to find out, try to be kind of slippery and find out if their parents had college degrees, if their parents were educators, or if they'd worked in any of the fields that we offer here. But I just tell them, I say, hey, first of all, this department's a great department. We have faculty. All of our faculty have their terminal degree. Sometimes you have to explain what that is. One of them's working on hers. They all have real world experience. These people have done the things that they're talking about in the classes. And we think about your students. I say we will try to get I'll look at the student, but we're going to really try to get you involved in some things, some university endeavors, department endeavors. We want you to have a resume when you leave here that you can honestly put some things that you were involved in on that resume.
Yeah.
And so when you leave here, you look good and you be competitive. I just tell them we try to get our kids, actually, 1 or 2 of our degrees, they have to attend a professional conference. It can be a state conference, it's not a nightmare, but we want them to get involved early like that. So I tell them that, And then I tell them we've had great support, you know, our dean supports this department, the college that we're in, our college stands out, you know, all the way to the top administration, our provost, our president, they've always supported this department. You know, they've tried to give things, you know, to us when we need them, if we can prove we need it. So you just don't get that kind of support. And then, you know, really, I guess if you try to think about some other things, I tell them that this is really our location where we're at. There's, I give a little history lesson on on this county and the ones around us and what the population was back at the turn of the 1900s and all through the, you know, 30s and 40s and all the coal mining and all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of history in this region. And the fact that really we're, if you think about it, what are we, 2 hours from the Kansas City suburbs maybe?
Yep.
Not that far from Tulsa and Joplin, and so we're in a nice
Northwest Arkansas. Yep.
We're in a nice location, you know, and so but I just tell them, you know, you always tell them you'll like it here if you come here.
Yeah.
And usually if I get the parents to come too, you know, we usually steal them. We get them.
Yep. So if students out there want to find out more about the classes that you teach specifically, want to get to know you a little bit more, where can they contact you?
I think just get on our Facebook page, my phone number, email, everything's on there. And I try as hard as anybody else to respond as quickly as I can, you know. So I want people to feel free to do that. You know, we'll encourage them to, you know, we have a lot of folks out there that might, I don't know if they've done that with you, just out of the blue, some kid is sitting 500 miles away and think about going to college and they've heard of Pittsburgh and they'll go to maybe our homepage and they'll, I'm gonna call this guy, you know, Dr. Hutchins. I don't know if that's happened to you. It's happened to some people just out of the blue. I mean, there's proper, you know, we like to go through admissions and do all these different things.
Right.
We have some people just call out of the blue and get a lot of information. I got one today. So, yeah, so I told her about us, and then I told her, you know, that what admissions does when they do their little tours and things like that. So so we welcome students. We're holding our own even in these pandemic and, you know, tough financial times, I guess, nationwide in higher ed, but we're still we're still holding our own and still rocking, as you all say.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So if you do have any more questions for Dr. Opp, again, check out our Facebook page. His contact information is on there. Thank you to Dr. Opp for joining us this afternoon, and thank you to everyone out there. We really appreciate it, and we will see y'all next time. Thank you.
Thank you.